Blood Time, the podcast that speaks to the bond, the emotion between coach and athlete at the interscholastic and intercollegiate level. Each interview, each segment will reveal that bond and what was learned, how they were transformed, and what each athlete took to the world at large from that transformation. These stories will warm your heart and astound you altogether. Submitted for your approval. Now it is blood time. I want to thank Serve Pro of Beechwood, our newest sponsor, and Jack Coslin, the owner. They serve all of Northeast Ohio, not just Beechwood. They specialize in disaster cleanup that leaves your home or office like new, like it never happened. Flood and water damage, fire, mold, and they say even blood and guts. Not just any Serve Pro. Seek out Serve Pro of Beechwood. That's Serve Pro Beechwood, Shaker Heights, ClevelandHeights.com, 216-464-4498. Operated by a former All-State wrestler from Beechwood, we love Serve Pro of Beechwood. Welcome. It's blood time. This is Coach Cimarroni, and I want to thank my previous guests, Mary Herrick and Dawn Kendrick, two unbelievable women. Mary Herrick, a tremendous tennis coach, Dawn, a tremendous broadcaster over the years, and the Blessing House, their passion project. If you can, please support that. It is a tremendous situation. We're getting kids out of pretty bad situations and back to health, both physically and psychologically. Today, I want to welcome. I've got a quartet of fantastic coaches. I've got Daniel Song in studio here with me, the head coach at Case Western Reserve University. Welcome, Daniel. How are you?
Real good, Coach. Appreciate you having me this morning.
Yes, you make. This is the quartet I've got now. John Carroll, Notre Dame College, Cleveland State, and Case Western Reserve. Fantastic.
Heck yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. And we've got some special guests in the studio. Your two sons. Could you announce your two beautiful sons, man?
We got Chris, my oldest. He's 3 years old.
I love it.
Actually wrestled in his first match.
Nice.
A couple weeks ago back.
Awesome.
And we got JP. John Paul.
Welcome, dudes. Yeah. John Paul. I like it. Yeah. Are you a Beatles fan?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah,
That's John Paul, man.
So, yep.
I love it.
Usually we get the Pope reference.
Right, exactly. Very good. Very good. So, Case Western Reserve University, not an easy place to coach. You know, you've got some tremendous brains going through there. I mean, I've met tons of guys that have gone through. My uncle, Leonard Arslanian, was at Western Reserve Academy, or Western Reserve University before I went Case Western Reserve. He was the first place winner and the first captain of the Cleveland Heights wrestling team.
Okay.
So he wrestled there for a minute. But anyhow, he was brilliant. He had 150 IQ or something like that. And so he, was there to become a doctor, right? So I'm sure you're coaching guys that are going to be doctors, engineers, lawyers, business, captains of industry, and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. And I'm sure wrestling is, a passion of theirs, but it's maybe not the first thing that they're there to do. So tell me a little bit about that dynamic, and then I want to get into your history.
Absolutely, yeah. Case, as you know, is a premier university,
sure.
Nationally and world renowned.
Sure.
So every one of our guys are coming in with every one of our guys are coming in with plans.
Yeah.
For beyond graduation, what they're going to be doing beyond graduation. They already have a real good idea.
Yeah.
That they want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a leader in business.
Right.
Possibly an innovator and inventor.
Yeah. Inventor. I mean, there's tons of guys that are coming out of there, and you've got Nottingham Spurk down there doing some stuff. I think over right on the campus area there, and
yeah,
Weatherhead School of Management. It's exactly. Crazy. What a font of insane knowledge and industry, right?
Exactly.
Now you also have a medical school there too, right?
We do. Yep. And so that's a big draw for anybody who's in medicine or the healthcare industry.
Sure.
We just partnered with Cleveland Clinic. We used to be University Hospitals. We
right.
just went over to Cleveland Clinic, and they just built I believe, a $500 million health education campus.
That is fantastic. So you got guys coming into practice, and they're obviously studying hard. They've got obviously great brains. Tell me a little bit about that dynamic that occurs in practice.
So first and foremost, and that really starts day one of the recruiting process. Upon first contact, they know that I know that academics come first.
Right.
Which really for me that goes without saying.
Sure.
Any student athlete, I mean that's in the phrase itself. Student comes first.
Right.
Some programs live it. Some programs talk about it. We live it.
Okay.
So our guys know that my goal for them is to graduate and ideally with a job offer in hand before graduation.
Sure, yeah. Pretty substantial job offer too, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
right?
These guys do pretty well coming out.
I'm sure, yeah.
But they know that I'm a competitor.
Yeah.
They know that at my core, I'm a bonehead wrestling coach, and I love to teach and win. So we're going to do a lot of winning.
So you've got these guys that are coming into practice. Are they competitive? I mean, are they actually as because I know that you come from a different situation as an athlete, right? Tell me a little bit about that, and let's circle back to that question. So tell me a little bit about where you matriculated at in high school, college, and then prior coaching experience.
Sure. So I have a pretty, and I hate to come off as boastful, but I have a pretty...
No, please. It's not boasting if it's fact. If it's fact, it's fact, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a pretty rich coaching bloodline, almost, if you will.
Sure.
So I started wrestling at 10 years old. I'm from Long Island, New York, originally.
Massapequa.
Yep.
Right.
Real tough. We used to go to their Christmas tournament every year.
I'm sure, yeah.
The
Baldwin boys, right?
That's right.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So I'm from Hop Hog High School.
Yeah. Shout out to Billy Baldwin.
Yep, exactly. There you go. And both my coaches, just got dumb lucky with that. Both my coaches are in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame,
wow.
New York chapter Hall of Fame, which is a tribute to just everything that they put into the sport.
Sure. Isn't Tom Ryan from around there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to get to.
We love Tom Ryan.
Tom Ryan was my first club coach as a kid.
Oh.
So he ran his club out of Hofstra, but also had a satellite camp out of my high school.
That is
Again,
fantastic.
this is just dumb luck, but you could tell even at 10 years old, and I'm the youngest of four.
Right.
So my brothers understood more than I did. But I could tell right away, even at 10 years old, that this guy is a rock star.
Yeah.
And he's just somebody you want to latch onto,
sure.
which my parents recognized that, and they trusted the coach.
Right.
And that's really where it comes back to for me. My parents, again, it was a lot of luck that they put me in touch with a lot of great coaches.
Right.
But the best thing that they did for me was they trusted the coach.
Awesome.
To coach me, and they stayed out of the way. At key times, they put in their 2 cents. At very key times.
Well, they obviously have a foundation they want to raise you with.
Certainly.
Right? And this is part of blood time. Blood time is, the foundation of the parent, but then what does a coach not only, validate, but also expand upon? So tell me a little bit about that. Obviously, Tom Ryan had to do something that in that capacity, I would imagine, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So right away we went to, we signed up for his club, we did his camps, and it wasn't quite a 12-month system, but we did quite a bit,
right?
Even back at that time. So it was something where, it was, you recognize that you have something really special, and you just want to be a part of that.
Sure. So so you graduate from high school in Long Island. Where do you go to college?
So I actually have a longer path than most, but I actually transferred twice.
Well, that happens. I mean, I have a nephew that transferred 4 times.
Oh gosh.
So I get that, and he's doing fantastic. So he just had to find his niche, and he's killing it now. So go ahead.
So, again, I'm the youngest of 4. I had 2 brothers in the military.
Oh, wow.
So one did ROTC at Rutgers University.
Wow.
Was a 3-year wrestler for them.
Sure.
And then my other brother was at West Point.
Wow.
And he did his 5 years commitment after graduation.
Yeah.
And he was a 3-year wrestler for Army West Point.
Nice.
So I thought I wanted to follow in those footsteps.
Okay.
I wanted to go to the military academy.
Okay.
I didn't have the grades at that point.
All right.
So I went to Brockport University.
Oh, sure. That's a Division III powerhouse at one time. I remember coaching against them when I was at John Carroll, when I was the assistant coach, and they were always top 5.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. And so the head coach there still currently is just in his 50th year as head coach is Don Murray.
Oh,
and
for
he's
sure.
a distinguished member
Yes.
of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame.
No doubt.
So you kind of start to look at who I've been around.
Right.
And again, is a lot of luck.
Wrestling royalty, man.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic.
Just it's all, I've kind of taken pieces from every person along the way.
Sure.
So ultimately transferred out of Brockport to the military academy.
Okay.
Wrestled for Tim Alger at the Merchant Marine Academy.
Nice.
In Kings Point, New York.
Okay.
And, another amazing guy. He had a huge impact on me in my life and still lifelong
In
friends.
what way? In what way?
Just kind of perspective.
Okay.
He actually was he's a VMI alum, and so
right.
He knew the grind of the academics and the military and wrestling.
Gotcha.
And he was able to he had a way of refining things down. When you think things are overwhelming,
yes,
he was able to filter things down and simplify it and kind of make.
So take it in bits and pieces instead of eating the elephant all in one bite. Take it a slice at a time, and all of a sudden, a month later, you've got it all digested.
Exactly.
I love that.
Just one step at a time.
I love that. That is fantastic. Wasn't VMI where Bonacani's son had I think the neck issue, and I think that maybe not.
Sure.
I think that was, and that motivated Nick Bonacani Sr., who just passed away, Hall of Fame football player, to get involved with a lot of the paralysis situations. So kind of a cool place to be.
Yeah.
And both that way as well as what you just described. And so there's your blood type, and so it's interesting because speaking of other coaches, right, we had Marchetti in from Notre Dame College, we had Haywald in from John Carroll, and both of them said that their high school coaches became part of their DNA. So now this is your military academy college career coach that really has become part of your DNA.
Right.
So there's your blood, and that's beautiful. And so now you step into the role at Cleveland State, and you follow a legend, right? So tell me a little bit about following that legend, and what a beautiful guy.
So following Coach Del Rosa,
what a beautiful guy
at Case Western, I never actually got to meet him and visit with him personally.
Yeah.
So he actually passed away, I believe, going into his 50th season.
Yes. We were all very saddened by that.
Yeah. I mean, he was definitely a pillar in the Cleveland wrestling community, and
no doubt,
a National Wrestling Hall of Fame member himself.
Right.
Yeah. I knew Coach Del Rosa by reputation, not personally, and I knew very quickly that it was going to be a tough act to follow.
Sure.
There was a lot of peaks and some very deep valleys.
Very deep valleys, absolutely.
So with Coach Del Rosa passing, and then it would have been 4 years later, if you recall, there was a plane crash that involved Case Western wrestlers.
I remember that. That was horrifying.
And so my predecessor was wrestling with that. Mark Haywald, who went on to John Carroll.
Yep.
So cut to, I'm trying to piece things together.
Sure.
Bring the family together.
Right. And terrific. I mean, Haywald's a terrific guy.
Love him.
I mean, he's a terrific guy. And he's gone through some at Mount Union that they had the bus crash too. So
that's right.
It's just amazing what he's been able to, just keep perspective on. Yeah, navigate exactly right. Yeah.
And so with that, it was, when there's tragedy, a legendary coach passing, members of the team passing, you learn quickly there is no blueprint to navigate such things. And so
you just got to trust your gut, man.
Yeah. Right. For me, it's the members of the organization, if you will, are either going to go separate ways or they're going to come closer together.
Right.
And so my goal, and you can't force it. It almost has to happen organically, naturally. But my goal early on was just to bring everybody back together.
Right.
And once we had that foundation, then we can build on top. And really get back to the wrestling and the winning and looking at trying to bring back national titles. Individually and as a team to Case Western.
Yep.
In the history of the school, there's 4 national champions.
Phenomenal.
There's 1 3-time All-American, 3-time Olympian in Bill Kerslake.
Right.
And
yes.
so there's
Kerslake, God,
tremendous tradition at Case Western.
Absolutely.
To be honest, I couldn't name any other Division III school in the country that has an Olympian, national champion, and a 4-time All-American.
The people that are graduating from your, are just doing magnificent things in the real world, and that's what this show is about. Is what are these young men, and even now, eventually young women. I just interviewed a few very successful females, obviously Mary Herrick and Dawn Kendrick, in a different sport. That's what I love about this. Is Blood Time necessarily is about wrestling. Sure. It's about that, and so you really had to create a true family, a true bond. And this is what this is about too. As any place that I've ever coached, I always had a call to arms. Well, this year it's We Are Blood. Mm-hmm. Last year it was I Am Wrestling. And back in the day it was Return to Glory and Road Continues and Do It Now and all those kinds of things. And so while you may not have a call to arms, I know that it's in your brain. I know that it's in your heart, and the kids have to feel that. The men, I guess they're men now, right? Because they're over 18, most of the guys that you're coaching. So tell me about what that has done in the last few years and some of the guys that you have been able to coach and then see some of the things that they've done in the real world.
Absolutely. And talking about a call to arms, I mean, that first year, and just in meeting with the team and the individual members one at a time,
right?
There wasn't much of a purpose.
Sure.
When I asked them, hey, why
are you doing
about wrestling?
Yeah, exactly. Why are you doing this here?
What is your tie to the sport? What drives you? And there were it was almost like blank stares, and they just didn't know. They didn't have a specific answer to that.
Right.
So for me, that call to arms in year 1 at Case was compete for a reason.
Awesome.
And so
what's your why?
Exactly.
Where's your passion?
Exactly.
I love that.
For everybody, it's going to be different.
Right.
For again, some guys are going to be role players, and some guys are going to strive for a national championship berth.
Right.
To get to the big show.
Yeah, get on the podium, man.
Right. Get to the top of the podium.
Sure.
So that was something that we kind of put in place year 1.
Right.
Which was pretty helpful.
Cool. And so you've been building on that. And have you had any guys, that have graduated since you've been the head coach come back and say, hey, thank you, coach, I'm doing this. Thank you, coach, I'm doing that.
So not guys that I coached to start. It was just alumni coming back, which was a huge for me, a huge win to get these guys back involved in the program.
Totally. I mean, that glue is so important to, past generations of wrestlers. Sure.
So the ability to connect the current members of the team to the past.
Right.
Guys who had gotten it done before them, and didn't make excuses and had success at a high level. That was critical. But just the other night, we had our senior night, and 2 recent alums come back, and it was seeing that to me was equally as impressive and inspiring as our 4 seniors that we celebrated that night.
Gotcha.
Seeing our two current alumni. One graduated last year in 2019. One graduated in 2018.
Right.
They're doing big things. One's a civil engineer. One's a chemical engineer.
Fantastic.
And again, it just makes it what you're doing on day-to-day basis. It's almost a reward in its own way to see.
That's your currency, man. You know what I mean? That's your Bitcoin. It's interesting because my whole goal as a coach in high school is to graduate great humans, because great wrestling comes pretty easy after that. You take it to the next level because you've got guys that are going right into the business world, right into the civic world, right into the medical teaching profession, whatever that may be. So what is the last lesson? What is the last thing that you impart on these guys, or want to impart here on this broadcast, to their next adventure, if you will?
Yeah, my biggest thing, and I'll tell you, I think about this a lot. I've been around, I've had great mentors. I've been around. I transferred twice before I graduated from the University of Iowa.
Right.
And then made my way back east. Coached at Bloomsburg University,
right.
Naval Academy, and now at Case. And along the way, again, I tell guys, there are things that do not require talent.
Yes.
That you can do every day that will set you apart. And you have to find that one thing that's going to set you apart. So I ask my guys, what's going to set you apart?
Right.
What makes you different? What is it that you're doing daily to create your own edge?
Right.
And for me, I remember very clearly I was at the University of Iowa.
Okay.
And
just a terrible wrestling program.
They're on
the way back.
Yeah,
yes, they are. They're definitely. There's no question about that.
Yeah,
they had a little slumber, but they're coming back. Yeah.
So, but there were two, and here I am. I'm a Division III guy.
Sure.
A one-time state placer from New York.
Right.
I was not all world or anything like that.
I resemble that remark.
But I went all in.
Sure.
I was reliable.
Right.
I believe I was. I know I was. And without even knowing that people were watching.
Sure.
And ultimately, I got on staff. I was the assistant coach in charge of strength and conditioning.
Awesome.
And I'm talking to Coach Tom Brands, and he tells me there's two reasons why he had selected me for that position.
Okay.
Again, I wasn't very credentialed as
understood.
hardworking, reliable guy.
Right.
And they had nothing to do with wrestling.
Gotcha.
He said there was one day I was working out, and you came into the wrestling room, and I'd watched 10 people before you come into the wrestling room and step over a 5-pound plate that was on the floor.
Right.
They came in, stepped over the plate, went to the locker room, got changed. One by one, stepped over the plate, came to the locker room, got changed.
Right.
You came in, you bent down and picked up that 5-pound plate and put it back where it belonged.
Right.
And he goes, that sets you apart.
Sure.
And didn't require talent, didn't require strength.
Right.
Didn't require technique.
You were present and you were thinking of others. Brilliant.
Essentially,
love
what it came down
to. And I've got a newfound respect for Tom Brands for recognizing that, because that to me is what humanity's all about, right? And we are of service, are we not? We don't do this for the dough. Maybe you do. I don't know, but I don't think Case pays that much. I'm sure. God love you,
Coach.
Because I can assure you I don't.
I joke around all the time.
Right.
It's unfortunately it's sad but true. I didn't get into wrestling because of the money.
Exactly right.
I think eventually I might have to leave wrestling as a profession because of the money.
Well, it's interesting because.
But it'll always be at my core.
Of course, it is our passion project, right? It's interesting. Last night I interviewed a guy by the name of Mike Friedman, who was an assistant coach for Bill Sudik, who was the basketball coach. He was assistant coach at Case. Mike celebrated his 65th birthday. I just interviewed him 2 interviews before you, and there at that, and he talked about his coaching career, and he never really made a lot of money at it, and he became into business. He's done extremely well in business, but he took those same foundational pieces in building a team and motivation and all that and brought it to business, and that's one of the foundations. But at that party last night at Acacia Country Club, there was a guy by the name of Dean Adler. And Dean Adler, I believe, was a professor, one of the youngest professors ever at Case Western Reserve. I think 28 years old. He was a law school professor. He was brilliant. Number 1 in his Wharton business class. I mean, that's how brilliant he is. He also runs a REIT. This is the wrestling part of it, with a guy by the name of Ira Lupert. Ira Lupert, I think, was 2nd or 3rd on the Olympic rung to Chris Taylor, the heavyweight, back in the early 70s.
Sure.
He is now, I think, he's the head of the Regents of Penn State. He's gone through some tough stuff with what recently happened at Penn State. But his crowning glory is bringing Cale Sanderson.
Wow.
Okay? And he is, and think about that, right? Think about what it takes to bring that type of excellence, to be a glue through a very tough time through Penn State University, when some of the things that just happened. And he was the bright, shining star there in Ira Lupert's. That's his crowning glory, So, and Dean told that story to me yesterday. And Dean his experience here is his father started Rube Adler Sporting Goods, and his brother runs it right now with a former Beachwood athlete, Eric Adler. So it's kind of neat to hear all that stuff, where Dean never stepped a foot on the wrestling mat, but his partner was a guy that really created what is today the pinnacle of our sport.
Absolutely.
Right, Kale and the Penn State wrestling team. And so, speaking of that, why they're so successful, I think, is they have fun. Tell me, are you guys having fun over at Case Western Reserve?
Absolutely. Awesome. Yeah, we have a good balance. We work our tails off.
Sure.
But we've created a culture.
Yes.
Again, when I came in, it was, and I love every one of my teams, every individual that have wrestled for me. When I came in, it was really smart kids.
Sure.
Who did wrestling as a hobby.
Gotcha.
And now we have wrestlers who happen to be really smart.
Gotcha.
But we have a good time, but we make it a family atmosphere.
Sure.
We eat together. We study
that.
together. We train together. We room together. These guys are looking out for each other.
Right.
In the wrestling room, in the classroom, in the studies, but also socially.
Right.
But we do team meals. We just went to Top Golf.
Nice.
So, that was a blast.
My assistant coach loves that. Jake Goodwin's a big fan of that. He's a Notre Dame guy.
That was a blast.
Yeah, he loves that. So, Top Golf's an interesting thing, right? It's really interesting because the young generation doesn't have time for 18 holes, but they love this stuff because isn't there like games and accuracy games and all that kind of stuff?
Exactly. Yeah. Essentially, the best way I could describe it is they brought the bowling alley atmosphere to the driving range.
Brilliant.
So you go with a group of friends, everybody's on the board, you take turns, and you're trying to hit certain targets or any target.
Yes, exactly.
Or just hit the ball and laugh at each other.
I love it.
So.
Well, I want to kind of bring this last point up, and then I want to throw something back to you. I have the honor of my nephew, Matt Guerreri. He is the defensive coordinator for Duke football.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Duke, Stanford, some of these, organizations that excel in athletics and yet have to be and are beholden to the academic world. Obviously, Duke.
Absolutely.
Right. Very difficult. So there was they have a, kind of a platform or a process or protocol that they go through to try to attract the best they can, to fit that mold. So tell me what you do to recruit, if you will, that type of athlete and that type of athletic student, if you will.
So early on, I went almost with mass mailings, and it was not successful.
Okay.
So you really have to manage your efforts. We have amazing support at Case Western Wrestling.
Yeah.
My AD and the administration, they're on board.
Okay.
But ultimately, I'm the head coach, and we have several part-time assistants.
Yes, that makes sense.
So as far as being the most efficient with the time, I kind of came back to a formula of reaching out to my own, and I have a pretty deep network, but reaching out to those guys and having a really good feel about the potential recruit even before I meet them.
Gotcha.
So I know the work ethic.
So you pre-qualify. Yeah, it makes so much sense because you don't want to waste your time with somebody that just is not going to make it. Yeah.
I hate to, because I want.
But it's reality.
It's
reality. So there's no way to, get around that.
Efforts.
Absolutely.
So, you already have the character, the work ethic, and of course the grades vetted before you even pick up the phone and call the individual.
Right.
But the biggest thing for me is getting them on campus.
Okay.
So I'm not much of a salesman. I think I'm very passionate, and people can pick up on that.
Sure.
But my sell, my pitch, my pushiness.
Yes, I like that.
Comes out in getting them to campus.
Okay.
Once I get them to campus, I let my athletes close the deal.
Sure.
I let
the
university,
campus,
and the academics.
Incredible reputation.
The reputation. I mean, people get on campus and without a doubt, every single time they are impressed. They
Yep.
leave impressed.
Right.
They leave with a good feeling about Case Western Reserve.
Right.
Now, whether they come to the school or not, that's
Mhm.
up to them, and,
Mhm.
and factors on several things.
Sure.
But that's kind of how I
Mhm.
make the most of my efforts from a recruiting standpoint.
Awesome. And then the last guy that I want to bring up is Tony Calandra. Don't
Yes.
we love Tony? Antonio. He's fantastic, isn't he? He's the best. He just won, I think, the national championship in Japan.
Gosh, he
Again,
does not stop.
He's the best. He's the best, and he made the best pesto in town. I'm so sad to see that he left with Il Baccio going the way of Florida, I guess. So. But shout out to Antonio, right?
Coach Tony.
Yeah.
He's one of a kind.
Yes.
Instantly friends for life.
Yes.
That's the best way I could describe it.
Yes.
He stayed with me and my family for a week this past summer.
Okay.
And then we all went to Italy together.
With the John Carroll guys, right?
With John Carroll.
That's such a cool thing, yeah.
The 2019 Matteo Pellicone.
Right.
Which they just held the 2020 Matteo Pellicone.
Wow.
So it's even just competing in that event.
Oh, yeah.
Having Coach Tony lead it, be our honorary coach for that trip.
Sure.
Was a huge honor, and it just such a prestigious event.
Yes, and his best bar is Chamizo. Not a bad wrestler, right?
Oh my gosh.
He's something, isn't he?
So my 65-pounder wrestled Chamizo round one.
Wow.
And so my 65-pounder, Isaac Collier, St. Ed's alum, is one of 4 Americans
yes.
to compete against Chamizo.
Crazy.
2-time world champion.
Yes.
And,
what hips?
Oh, he's an alien.
He's crazy. It's crazy. It's
results not typical.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's the best way I can describe that.
Understood. Yeah. I had Lee Kemp on, and I was talking to him about if he was 28, right? We could do a time machine. He says, "Yeah, I'd have loved to go on against Dake and Taylor and Burroughs and Chamizo. Can you imagine that brick house?" Kemp against Chamizo.
Right.
What an insane match. I don't know.
Clash of styles.
Yeah, clash of styles for sure, So, Daniel, thank you for coming in. I really I love this. I love that your sons are here and they've been chiming in. Hopefully we can edit that out, but who knows, right? We may keep it in. It's just a beautiful atmosphere, if you will, and it reminds me of my days because when I was the head coach first time at Beechwood, I had a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and I was telling you off the air, my baby, my middle son, Christian, Michael's, he's my Mickey, Christian Michael Cimarroni, was born the day Ryan Peters wrestled as a sophomore in the state tournament against Timmy Durnland. So it was, so absolutely eat these days up. I know that today is a little stressful for you, but just eat these days up because they go so fast, and now they're 29 and 31. God bless America, right?
We watched with my oldest, Christopher, and we watched the Olympic trials in the hospital. I actually had tickets out to Iowa City to go watch in person.
Yes.
And my wife was like,
"No way,
you're not going."
Oh no, yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and I was still gonna go.
Yeah, I get it. No, I was coaching Scott Peters and Michael Goldberg on the phone in 1990, and the cell phones were the size of my head. While Ryan was wrestling, it was just amazing experience, and I'll never forget it. But having said that, leave our audience with 1 or 2 things that you'd like to, as just a tidbit or moment in time.
Sure. I leave off with this. Just anything you do, I encourage you to have a specific goal.
Gotcha.
And so when you have a specific goal in mind that you're striving for and working towards, you realize that everything matters.
Yes.
If you're just in it, insert whatever activity or whatever you want. If you're just in it for the experience or just to get better, just to see what happens,
right?
You find that things don't really matter on your journey.
You meander.
When you have a specific goal, everything matters.
Yes. Attitude,
body language, nutrition, rest, how you treat people, and of course work ethic and attacking the weight room and the technique, or again whatever the activity is. Everything matters, and so I encourage those out there, have a specific goal and just take it one step at a time.
Okay.
Try to refine it and simplify the approach to just getting one step closer each day
to your goal. I love that. And I address my team and I address my kids and anybody that has the opportunity to talk to me about this, is that you have a choice. Every moment is either the most important moment on the planet or meaningless. It's up to you. I choose to be most important.
I love that.
And the other thing too is I say to the kids, you'll never get these years back, so make them count. And so I love this message. And Daniel, I love you. I love what you're doing. Your kids are fantastic. I'm glad that you brought them in. You're awesome, little dude. Continued success for the Spartans. Okay,
yes.
Continue to grow that wonderful tradition, and we wish you nothing but the best in the Division III regionals and nationals.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks
for having me on today.
You got it. We are Blood. This is Coach Cimarroni. Love to all. I want to share my thought of the day with you. Do not listen or believe a lie, no matter how many times you are told or how loud it is proclaimed.